Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being with us again today. Well, we've had the opportunity to review several Canik pistols on the channel, and the TP9 was the closest thing we've had to a subcompact gun. I thought it was a bit big, but we finally have a true subcompact offering from Canik with the Mete MC9. It's meant to compete with your Hellcats and 365s, Shield Pluses, etc. Does it have what it takes to stack up? Well, we're going to look at it and find out in just a minute. Alright, once again, welcome back. Thanks for being with us today. If this is your first time coming to the channel, or if you've watched our videos before and just have not had a chance to before now, and you like our content, please consider subscribing. You can locate that subscribe button in the lower right hand corner of your computer screen there. Or if you scroll down below the video on your mobile device there, you can hit the subscribe button that way. It's a simple, easy thing that helps us out a whole lot, and we really, really appreciate it. So, Canik Mete MC9. As far as size comparison, I'm going to do this what we normally do. Just a quick safety check here, just to let you know that we're looking at a empty and safe firearm here. So, I mentioned some of the other guns it's designed to compete against, and I've got a little Hellcat here, and if you put the Hellcat next to it, it's a little bit smaller, but not by a whole lot. I always like to do these comparisons because this part's really about how it's going to feel. If you're used to carrying a certain size gun on your hip, how close is this gun to stuff you already know? And it's a little bit bigger than like a little Hellcat, but not by much. Now, you can see it's just a hair thicker, and it's just a wee bit longer, not even by much. It looks like it's bigger than it is when they're side by side, but it's really not. So let's change things up a little bit, because to me, a lot closer option would be something like the Glock 43X as far as overall size. And it looks like the Glock has just a huge grip compared to it. But if you look at it closely, when you get these two lined up, it's not that much bigger. And of course, right now, the Glock, which just has a standard little 10-round magazine, it's just a single stack. Okay. Of course, this is a double stack, and this comes standard with a 12-round magazine. So with this little bitty magazine, it's not that much different in size. But of course, they do give you, we'll cover this more in the features, but they give you a 15-round magazine for this firearm. And if you put the 15-round magazine in there, and then you do this again, you'll find that the difference in size changes very quickly. They're just virtually the same size. And of course, that's with 5 more rounds in the magazine in the Canik. So, as far as how much space is going to take up in the holster for the amount of ammo you get to carry, it's obvious that the Canik is going to hold a pretty good amount of rounds there, and it's about the same size as the 43X. Alright, we're going to get right into the features here, but before we do, we're going to take just a moment to thank our friends over at Don's Weaponry for providing us this beautiful example of the Mete MC9 by Canik for our tabletop review today. Don's Weaponry is a huge supporter of firearm safety and education, and we can't thank them enough. So, we just checked this, but we're going to do it again real quick. You can see our magazine is empty, and then we're going to let you see there that we are nothing in the chamber. We are good to go. And of course, you just saw the slide lock and release here. That is ambidextrous. So we're going to jump back up to the top here. You can see right off the bat here, you got a little plate there. Obviously, that's for your optics. Different manufacturers will have different offerings for this, so I'm not going to get too much into that. Sight picture is a simple white dot with a blacked out rear sight. I kind of prefer a 3 dot just for my eyes. This isn't bad though. I've been doing it so long, I just kind of like to have either fiber optic or something that glows, or at the very least, just 3 white dots. But this is still good. Of course, you got your serrations on the front and rear. These are pretty pronounced. If you shoot with gloves, I think you'd still get a pretty good bite on this. It feels pretty good to me. You do have an accessory rail on the front, so if you do like to put a light or laser system on this thing, you can certainly do that. It has a pretty good sized trigger guard, and that's something I'm always going to speak up about because I've got pretty long fingers here, and I like being able to sweep my finger down in there without having to hunt and peck. Some of these trigger guards on these guns are so tiny, I don't know how they expect anybody to get their finger in there, but this is good. If you look on the back, you probably notice whenever I rack this, of course, this is a striker fired semi-automatic pistol, and that is your cocked striker indicator, and you'll notice whenever I pull the trigger it goes bye-bye. So that's a little ready indicator for the striker there. Of course, this does not speak whether there's anything in the chamber or not. This strictly shows the striker is ready to fire. Okay, so know the difference. Your trigger, I think this trigger feels really good. I'm going to cover this more in the range section, but I really like the triggers on these Caniks. It's one of the reasons why I am have been becoming more and more of a believer in these. You've got your magazine release right here. It's normally, you know, when they position a magazine release right in here, usually there's kind of some kind of a little hump right there on the top side where your thumb goes. This doesn't have that, but I still didn't find myself getting into it too bad when I have a two-handed grip. I can feel it, but even pressing down hard, you can't press hard enough sideways to make that come out. You just have to deliberately press it with your thumb. So it feels like you're on it, but you're not going to actually eject the magazine by putting pressure this way. So it's a pretty good design. It just seemed to me at first like that was going to be a problem, but it's absolutely not. They give you changeable back straps. Here you have three, small, medium, and a large, and so you can fit this to what makes you happy. I like the texturing here on the front of the grip, and then of course matches on the magazines, the sides there all the way down. So it feels pretty good. And of course, you know, the magazine I'm showing you here was the bigger one. This is the 15 round magazine, but of course, you know, if you so choose, you can carry the 12. You may say, well, why would you want to do that? You know, carry all the extra capacity. Well, you got to remember, when you're carrying this gun as a concealed carry gun, you might want to keep it smaller. And when it's in the holster, this extra length that you get on the bigger magazine is something you absolutely have to think about. I'll cover this more, but I think for me, I'm probably more likely to use the extension because, you know, we're talking about 12 rounds versus 15. Well, if I've got 12 rounds and I've got this little pinky extension here and it kind of makes it a larger gun in my hand, it kind of feels larger, I think I'd be perfectly happy with that. And that seems like the more likely method that I would use to carry this. But it feels really good. So it's got a good set of features. It seems like it's made well. And, you know, every Canik pistol I've had a chance to look at so far has shared those same characteristics. The first time I was at the range and one of my colleagues tried to get me to shoot a Canik, I wasn't very interested. It's been several years ago when Caniks were first kind of getting in the market. And I didn't have a reason. It's just, you know, someone hands you a gun you've never heard of or a brand that's up and coming and you're like, oh no, I'm good. I've got my HK. I've got this. I've got that. Eventually, I put my gun down and I shot that Canik pistol. And when I did, I had to kind of take back some of the things I said jokingly about the gun because it's a really good shooting gun. I was pretty impressed with the very first Canik I ever got to shoot. The triggers are fantastic. And the accuracy I was able to get with that firearm right off the bat was just really good. All the Caniks that I have shot, they're not picky about ammo. Same with this. You can bring your favorite range ammo and you can put as much of it in the gun as you want to and not have to worry about whether it's going to shoot right or not. I've tried a lot of different defensive rounds trying to find out what the best is. And for me, I get the best accuracy. I've tried the 124 and the 115 V Crown, along with the 124 Gold Dot and the 135 Critical Duty here. Now, out of everything, I seem to consistently shoot the 115 V Crown the best. Now, like I said, I'm not saying this is the better round. This is just what I shoot the most accurate. I'll shoot several boxes of each, and whatever produces the most consistent good groups, I sort of have to assume that that is the best round for me. And so far, that's the results I've been getting. So, when you think about it, the price of this gun, the MSRP is less than $450. I don't remember the exact amount, but I've seen them selling for around $450. With everything they give you, and I'll cover this more in a second, but you get the extra magazines. They give you a mag loader. You get all kinds of brushes and cleaning stuff. You got tools and a holster. We'll cover that here in a minute. They give you so much, and for the price, to me, that's a real value added kind of thing. So when you have a gun that shoots really well, it's very accurate, it's very easy to shoot, it's got great trigger, and it seems to be made pretty good quality. Well, to me, that is an attractive set of features and good performance out of a gun that's not that high priced. So if you're going to carry the MC9 as your carry gun, of course the question is what's it going to be like? Well, I tried it a couple different ways. I mentioned earlier they give you a holster. Well, it's not a bad little holster, and every Canik that I've looked at and tested, they always give you one of these holsters with it, and they're really not bad. It's a basic little, ABS holster here with 2 clips on it, but it fits the gun perfectly. It's got a good cant, so when it's in the belt line, it's in a really good position to grab it. Since it's a 2-clip setup, of course, it spreads the weight across your belt. It's a small gun, so it's really comfortable once it's in this position. And, they give you, it's got a little retention adjustment there, so if you want a little bit tighter, you can do that. But as I said before, for the price of the gun, they give you all this stuff. And no one is saying that the little Canik holster that it comes with, we're not saying that's the greatest thing in the world. I'm just saying that a lot of people, when they go to buy their gun, that $450 investment could be a really big deal for a lot of people, and maybe they're not prepared to spend another $100 to get a decent holster. So the fact that they give you one, to me, that is a big value add, and hats off to them if they do that, because it's a complete sale. And a lot of people, knowing they can get everything they need in the box, well, that's great. So this is super comfortable, like I said, to carry from day to day. No problem. Now, I tend to carry it, like I say, in this configuration, because if you switch this over to the 15-round magazine, well, it's still great, but as I said before, now you have a bit more sticking out here, and this is what's going to be, hitting your body, is in this magazine right there. And those corners get uncomfortable after a while. And so for me, I've determined that the best combination for me for this firearm would definitely be the smaller magazine with the addition of the pinky extension, because with that on there, I can get all my fingers on the firearm, plus it's still very comfortable to carry, and that's what I'm after. Now, the other way I carry this, and I know some people are not big fans of holsters without retention, but hear me out. So I mentioned a lot of times that if something's small enough to pocket carry, I may very well grab a sticky. Well, this is no exception. If I've got a pair of pants with big cargo pockets in the front, well, I can put this in my front pants pocket, and the sticky, because of the material, it will hold itself straight up and down in my pocket, and you can just draw, right out of your pocket. I think that's a good option for some people. And there's a lot of times when I don't want to have something on my waistband, I just stick it in my pocket. And so this is a totally comfortable option. And, and it covers the trigger guard and everything. It's perfectly safe for pocket carry. So if you like that option, then it's certainly worth looking at. But whether you carry it in your pocket or whether you carry it on the waistband, even with the larger magazine, it's very comfortable and surprisingly light for all-day carry. So no issues there. Well, if we're looking at the overall impressions of the MC9, it's got a lot going for it. So, as I said before, they've introduced a lot of Canik pistols over the last few years, and the closest they came to a subcompact was the TP9, and I looked at that little TP9 Elite. They called it a subcompact, but I disagreed, and I said so in my video, because to me it was too bulky. It just wasn't a subcompact to me. A great shooting gun, but it was a little big. they finally hit the mark with this. This is actually a subcompact. And not only is it a subcompact gun, but to me, it feels good enough in the hand. It doesn't feel like a toy. A lot of the smaller, really, really small subcompacts, that I don't really feel confident with that little tiny gun in my hand. But the Canik feels good. It's well made. And as I said, you know, you can kind of fit this thing, change the back straps, kind of make it your own. But for around $450, you know, you've got different capacities magazines, you know, you've got a magazine loader, you've got a holster, you got all kinds of tools, a nice case. I think for someone that is looking for a accurate, reliable, well-made pistol that they don't have to go out and buy a bunch of extras, this is a perfectly acceptable and reasonable option. I think one of the reasons that Canik is building up popularity is because they keep coming up with these kinds of solutions for the market. And I think it's a good little gun. So if you're looking to get something that's just as good as many of these other subcompacts, but you don't want to spend as much money, there's no reason you can't have a look at the MC9 because it's a great pistol. All right. Well, that's going to do it for today. We appreciate you being with us as always. Of course, we'll be back soon with another video for you. So as always, everybody stay safe and have a great day. Thank you.